Yes, madam. Namaste. Good evening once again, and evening.
Namaste.
Good evening to you all. Welcome once again. Sahitya Academy program, discussion program, and now we are adding just minute. The Silver Year, Senior Contemporary Indian Women's Poetry, the book discussion program today. The beautifully published by Sahitya Academy, and I think in on behalf of this we are going to discuss today. Uh, Now, just formal welcome, and I'll do myself. My introduction is my Dr. Shanmukhananda, Sahitya Academy, Deputy Secretary as well. Now I am looking at English section, madam. Sanjukta, madam, I am welcome you, and Mahalashmi, madam, and everyone. It is with immense joy, heartfelt administration, and a deep sense of privilege that on behalf of Sahitya Academy and Secretary of Sahitya Academy, I warmly welcome each one of you on this literary evening. Today we gather to celebrate the luminous voice and life-affirming creativity of senior contemporary Indian women's poets as beautifully captured in this unique anthology, Silver Years, jointly edited by Professor Sanjukta Dasgupta, Professor Mahalashri Lal, and Dr. Anita Nahal, and published by Sahitya Academy. To the best of my knowledge, a Silver Year may well be the first anthology of its kind, bringing together a wonderful collection of poems by 50 eminent senior women poets from across India and around the world. This evening is not merely a book discussion, it is a meaningful acknowledgement of the wisdom and poetic brilliance of women who, in their silver years, continue to inspire us with their vibrant words and profound insights. Now, my honor to introduce the distinguished editor of this anthology who are also participating in today's program. First, Professor Madam Sanjukta Das Gupta, retired as a professor and former head Department of English and former dean Faculty of Arts, Calcutta University. She is a poet, short story writer, critic, and translator. She was a member of the General Council of Sahitya Academy and convener English Advisory Board, Sahitya Academy, New Delhi. Our ninth book of poetry, Ekalavya Speaks, was published in 2023. Sanjukta was 27 published books. She is the President Executive Committee, Intellectual Poetry and Performance Library, Kolkata. She is the recipient of IWSFF Women Achievers Award, W.E. Kamala Das Poetry Award, Athos Literary Award, Governor School of Honor, and CLRC National Lifetime Achievement Award. Madam, welcome, madam. Namaste. Now, Malashri
Thank you.
Lal, Professor, Madam, writer and academic with 24 books, retired as a professor in English Department, University of Delhi. Publications include Tagore on the Feminine, and Law of Threshold, Women Writers in Indian English, co-edited with Namita Gokhale, is the Goddesses Trilogy, and also Betrayed by Hope, a play on the life of Michael Madhusudan Dutt, which received the Kalinga Fiction Award. Last poem, Mandals of Time, as recently published, translated into Hindi as Mandal Dhwani. She is currently convener English Advisory Board of Sahitya Academy. Honor include the prestigious Maharani Gayatri Devi Award for Women's Excellence. Madam, welcome. And now, Madam Anita Nahal is an Indian-American professor, poet, novelist, children's book writer, and a recent short filmmaker. She has 15 published books, Feminist Tagore Literary Prize 2023 for Kisses and Espresso Bar, and nominated twice for the Pushcart Prize 2022-2023. Anita won the 2024 Nizam Prize for her poetry prose novel Drenched Thoughts. Our third poetry collection, What's Wrong with Her Kali Woman, is mandatory reading uh, at Trich University. In 2024, our short film, Clubs My Sinful Dance Muse, received the Best Super Short Film Award for 5 eminent international film festivals in Venezuela. Madam, for you also, I am heartily welcoming you. To begin this inspiring program, now I invite Professor Mahalasi Lal Madam to introduce the anthology. Her words will set your tone this remarkable evening and illuminate the spirit behind Silver Years. Uh, Thank you, Madam. Please continue for your introduction, Madam.
Thank you very much, Shanmukhanandaji and Sahitya Academy for organizing this program. It's a book that has been made with much thought, love, care, and hard work.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful to the 50 authors who responded to our call and contributed the kind of poetry that we had envisaged for this particular collection, which Shanmukhanandaji rightly said is probably the first of its kind.
Yes.
But I think our contributors also went beyond the brief and invented a great many other directions that the book might take. And therefore, it is an extremely rich collection, very diverse, and it's indeed a great privilege for me to just provide a very few introductory remarks in order to highlight a couple of facets of this book which interest me in particular. To begin with, I think it's the first book which focuses on the writing of Indian women over the age of 60. Usually, one imagines that this is a time of seclusion, isolation, loneliness, mental problems, and all kinds of things. Nothing of the kind. This is a feisty book, and I think it's also very deservingly honest because being feisty does not mean that you don't accept your age. And accepting your age doesn't mean that you give up having a good time and being creative. So, the underlying principle of what I'm saying about the book is that it demonstrates that beyond the age of 60, women writers of in India and connected to India or of Indian origin continue to remain highly creative. I think, therefore, this book is almost a resource for research because readers can dwell on subjects that have been selected by diaspora writers. And if they want, they can also compare that with subjects that have been selected by writers who are living in India. And I think what will be found in this book, unlike many assumptions that we have inherited, is that the subjects are not different. We are a global generation now, even if we are over 60. And things like homelessness or rehoming or looking at relocation and immigration and cultural conundrums, these are factors not only of those who leave one country for another, but also the factors that face people who are subjected to the internal migration, which has become so common within India. So that in itself is a subject that this book offers in many of its poetry. I thought of the phrase a soul story because it's not just about the theory of the fact that Indians carry a certain kind of quality of Indianness within them, no matter where they are, but it's also the soul story of not only the sisterhood that exists, but also how they're communicating with the world around them. And so there are shared topics that explore the inner geography of the writer, because after all, it's a creative book. It's not a theoretical or an essayistic production that we have in the Silver Years. So the second point and focus that I bring here is that one will notice the several different kinds of English that appear in the poems. And we are very far away from the time when there was an idea of a standardized English. Nowhere in the world today is there an idea of a standardized English. But in the writing tradition within the country, there was, for a very long time, a kind of an assumption that Indian English was a different kind of English. But we now realize, and this book once again demonstrates in its own way, that there is no differentiation between Indian English and so called standard English, and also Indian English is not a monolith because our writers come from different parts of the world and they come from different parts of India. So, in our introduction, we have mentioned the legacy of women's English poetry from Toru Dutt to Sarojini Naidu to Kamla Das. But our poets in this book are no longer worried about justifying why they're writing in English. It's just assumed that it's one of the languages that they've grown up with, comfortable in, and therefore writing happily and in a very easy fashion. They have accepted the language and the language has accepted them. So I think it's wonderful that the excitement is in the malleability of English as it has been used by the writers in the book, and also the association that this new English has with different regional languages. So when one comes across a word like idli or johar, or even a phrase like lela ki ungliyan le lo, we don't go into glossaries and explanations because we'll find the answer within the poem or make a pretty good guess as to what it is. It's the poetics of the expression and the cultural inwardness of the language that comes through. And my third and final point, I just want to keep this brief, is that there's a beautiful celebratory tone about this book. And the celebration is that not only one of accepting the aging process in a joyful manner, but acknowledging that along this path of getting to be 60 and plus, of course, there is loss and there is tragedy and there is suffering and there is health issues and adjustment. But that's not the only story. And when we look at some old, very well known stories within Indian literature corpus, such as Buri Kaki and El Ladki, and these very well known stories, there's always this picture of this high bichari elderly woman sitting somewhere in the corner of her home. Now, that is certainly not the picture that emerges out of our book of poems written by the 60 plus people, because they are people who have matured through the years of experience, and it has included love as well as suffering. It has included all kinds of experiences that have carried their own learning. But the biggest learning I find is that it's a book about women accepting the idea of self love. These are women who love themselves, and self love is not a selfish idea at all. Self love means dignity, it means integrity, and I think women over 60 have gathered that strand in the poetry that they have submitted for our collection. And in our introduction, again, we have mentioned that in the ancient traditions, once again, which is very male centered, there is a clear chart that has been laid out for the chronology of a man's life. There is first the brahmacharya, then the grihastha, and then the vanprastha, and then the sannyas. But there's nothing in parallel for the woman. She was supposed to go along and sort of absorb whatever fate that came her way, given the condition of the man that she was attached to. Now, we have shaken loose of all of that for a very, very long time. But in poetry, I think this is the first collection which has embedded in it this new definition of a woman's idea of selfhood, dignity, integrity, and also her equally comfortable position within social space. She's not isolating herself, and if she is, then it's by choice. So this idea of freedom and choice, I think, from the feminist viewpoint, is a very important notion, and I find that in almost every part of the book that I read. So, and finally, I think, given my interest in mythology, etc., I sort of have this idea that this book is under the eyes, the watchful eyes of the divine feminine, because everywhere I find in the book the power of the woman. And this is a power born of forces that are not necessarily visible or definable, but the forces, the energy, the creativity, the spark is very much there. So, we as editors, I express deep appreciation of all the contributors to the book, and of course to my fellow editors also, they who worked very hard. All the Sahitya Academy that put in this tremendous effort to bring the book together in good time and with a beautiful, stunning, and appropriate cover. But this session that we're having today could not accommodate all the 50 authors, of course. So the decision was that we will start with this as a kind of a launch of the book, and that we will go on to other segmented online discussions so that we can cover all our writers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam, for your introduction speech, madam. Madam, now it's past today evening. I want warmly request Anita Nahal ji to moderate the special session of poetry recitation and a discussion featuring of following poets: Dr. Amita Roy, Dr. Anamika, Professor Asha Vishwas, Ms. Beena Ma'am, Professor Chanchal Sarin, Dr. Deepa Agarwal, and Ms. Jayashree Mishra Tripathi. Once again, I welcome. Madam, please, Anita, madam, please, you carry on this one.
Thank you so much for hosting this event. I'm grateful to the Sahitya Academy and to you, Deputy Secretary, for bringing this program together, bringing all of us together. Thank you, Malaji, for that beautiful introduction, thoughtful introduction. I'm only going to add 2 lines about the cover, and then I'm going to request the poets to read out one poem of theirs from the book. Since Malaji in the end was talking about the cover, we had some thoughtful discussion on it as to what exactly the cover could be and the colors. And as you can see, the cover epitomizes a lot of things that Malaji pointed out: the feistiness, the creativeness, the thoughtfulness of women, strength, sensitivity, their colorfulness, and imagining an amazing world for themselves and others, and finally celebrating womanhood, aging, and life. So thank you to the artist and the artistic team that produced this amazing cover. So we will move on with this, with the program. I'm very glad and honored to introduce my poets, the ones who were able to participate today. We will begin with Dr. Amita Ray. I'll just give a few lines on each poet. Amita Ray is a former associate professor in English and vice principal of a college based in Kolkata. She's a translator, short story writer, reviewer, and poet. So, Amita ji, I welcome you to read a poem of yours from the book.
Thank you, Anita. And thank you to the editors, and my heartful gratitude to Sahitya Academy for inviting me to be here on this day. Well, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable because, there's a power cut over here. I'm just surviving on the data mobile. So I don't know how long it will last. But since this is I'm asked to read out my poem first. Hopefully it will sustain. So I have 3 poems in this book: A Sunday Morning, Birthing, and The Weight. Out of these three, I'm going to read out The Weight. But I just want to give a bit of, just a few words. I want to say a few words regarding this poem as a sort of prelude. Well, this poem was written some 4 years back during the lockdown period. And we all know that it was a very, a bewildering phase of our life, with deaths, then loss of near and dear ones, of course, and then loss of jobs, then panic, trauma, etc., etc. So, but I think the people who were, the worst affected people were the migrant laborers, especially in India, who had gone out for their jobs in an alien place, and they lost their job and they had to return to their home, and then all the public conveyances were suspended. And so they had to trudge miles and miles, long distances. And in the way they perished even. We all know that that incident of Maharashtra, where migrant laborers, in hordes they used to, leave their place, the place where they did the job. And well, the power has come. So I'm feeling comfortable now. Thanks. Well, so as I was saying, so we all know that incident where these people, the migrant laborers, they were sleeping on the railway track, and then they were crushed under the wheels of a train. So they reached, they couldn't reach home, and they all died. I think there were about 16 people, and they died with this wish of being with their beloved, being back home, buried in their heart. And this poem is dedicated to those migrant laborers during.
I think maybe Amita ji's internet has
Sing multitude, sprawl as shadow, weary feet, trudge, ceaseless. Body of mobile limbs, faceless, denuded of that less within quotes, of that less they zealously uphold the residual dignity of humans. Tuned to the rhythm of cumbersome pace, blistered strides crush thorns of distance at the call of a destination lovingly etched in the heart, weighed down with pangs of hunger, dying a silent death in entrails, an endless trail of faceless non-entity, swarm railroads, highways, pavements, befuddled aliens in their own homeland, homebound. Their gaze replicates history in differential guides. Home awaits the knock, the mother's weight, a pious ritual. Destiny intervenes, perils of hunger, ignominy, death, expectation, encircle an endless wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. And thank you for starting with COVID and reminding us of the tragic time that the whole world went through. So really appreciate your poem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to request Dr. Anamika to read out her poem next. Dr. Anamika is a Hindi poet and a professor in a college at Delhi University. Besides 18 collections of poetry, she has 5 novels and 8 books of criticism to her credit. Dr. Anamika, welcome.
Thank you, Anita. ripeness is all. When I see you all, I really feel strength. And as Maladi said, this is the time when we start looking at the world with a new set of eyes. Biological motherhood has never been the key factor in Indian life or style. But this is a time when, if you have born children, they're away, and you feel like adopting new children. You have an adopted family of sisters and all the young people who want to be mothered by you. So this is the time when birthdays and death days don't actually matter. But still, those who are away, migranthood is not only a state of mind now, it is not a state of mind, and viraha or viyog is something very outdated also in this age of uh, internet. But still, when you start missing people who have been all around you, and now you can't even hug them when they're in a crisis. This is a world of ad hoc jobs and ad hoc relationships. So when your own children who are away and are in some kind of crisis, what happens? How do you feel? And what kind of images come to your mind? This is a poem about that. And this is called Thanks for Choosing My Womb. This was the day when you knocked softly at the gate of my universe 30 and more centuries ago. When the grass was green still and the sky blue, with eyes moist with moonlight and tears, I saw you, your delicate feet, your shoulders, feet I saw, wishing all pointed pebbles and horny thorns away. Shoulders I felt against my breasts, wishing them breath and sinewy strength to bear it all with grace. Since then, my eyes have seen the tender drop of liquid in your little lens box. With your shiny eyes, I have looked at the world, and somehow I've never looked away. And I've seen you, son, in all kinds of moods, in tears and in cheers, in love and out there walking alone. I have seen you as desolate as the Christ in the painting of Michelangelo. So lonely that your body did hardly appear like a body, but like the patch of light. In the corner of the bed where you slept, 5 books open, all about you, like Clara the kitten and her 4 siblings. Your first storybook, Kill, 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 laughed you when I read aloud drowsily. The wolf invited Clara to dinner and she declined the offer politely. And then I've seen you as gregarious as the peasant coming home in a gala group of 30, carrying the best of the years in golden carts, singing and dancing merrily. I have seen you curled up like the rabbit caught suddenly in rain and in hurricane that choked his burrow and leaves dead and electricity wires let loose. And then I've seen you as vulnerable as the deer in Kalidasa, scratching the eye of the mate with horns green, not ripe as yet. May you grow up by leaps and bounds. Happy birthday. As I say this and lower my eyes to pray, you say with a smile, Mama, which birthday? I am born afresh almost every day.
Thank you, Anamika. There's a beautiful, touching poem. And yes, when children leave home, they're not close to us. All kinds of thoughts emerge in our minds and hearts, and you've so beautifully captured that. That was one of the joys of bringing this anthology out. When Malaji and Sanyukta and I were reading the poems, the wide variety of thematic, the themes that the poets had covered, it gave us real joy and it gave us real moment of celebration. So thank you, Anamika, for sharing those very sensitive thoughts with us. Thank you. I'm next going to call upon, I think, as per our list, Asha ji. Asha Vishwas is here.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Dr. Asha Viswas is a former professor of English from Banaras Hindu University in Varanasi. She has also taught at Aligarh and at the University of Calabar in Nigeria. She has published 4 collections of poems. Asha ji, I welcome you and invite you to read one of your poems from the book.
Thank you so much. It's a very short poem, Silent Communication. As my mother lay dying, I sat beside her for 5 days and 5 nights. I fed her as she must have fed me when I was a child. I often would bend my head to listen to her word fragments and sentence crumbs. The 3rd day, they put a tube into her nose, and I was deprived of the feeding I loved. Still, her eyes and the look in them seemed to reassure communication. She seemed like an answer to the unuttered cry of my soul. That soul. Just 15 lines about my mother's death, whom I loved very, very much. That's all. It's a personal poem.
Thank you, Asha ji. That really brought me to tears. It reminded me of my own mother in the hospital and in the bed in a similar situation. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I will request now Beena Sarkar Elias to read her poem. Just a short introduction on her. She's a poet, an art curator, fiction writer, and founder, editor, designer, publisher of International Gallery, an award-winning global arts and ideas journal for the last 25 years. And she has recently completed 50 volumes of poetry. Beena ji, welcome. I request you to...
I've completed only 8 volumes.
Okay, then it's a fault on our part. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you.
Okay. Since there's so much nostalgia, I first of all, I'm so happy to be here with all of you. I thank you, Anita, Malashri, and Sanjukta, and all of you for being here, for having me participate. It's such a wonderful camaraderie. Sahitya Academy, thank you very much for nurturing poets and writers. And I mean, you are like the pillar of strength behind all of us. And today, since we're talking so much about nostalgia and that we're all in our silver years, this month I'm turning 76. And I'm happy to go into nostalgia too, because I'm originally from Calcutta and my college years were there in the late 60s and early 70s. So I have so many memories of those times. And the poem I will read is about a memory of those times. One day in 1970, It's my ode to a fellow student in Calcutta. Years of protest, politics, and cigarette smoke through crowded streets and a fertile mind with earnest eyes and utopian dreams, believing one day there will be justice for the damned. One day there will be erasure of greed for power. One day there will be no guns, no war, and no violence. One day there will be a clear sky of peace and truth. One day he was shot dead against a wall. This is my friend who was shot dead. Years of protest, politics, and cigarette smoke puffed out by one bullet blow. One day there will be rain, a rain of reason, washing away the debris of inhumanity. I hope so.
Thank you, Binaji, and congratulations and happy birthday in advance. Your poem was really very, what do you say, deep, and talked about the protest of the early years. And so thank you for putting that down on paper and letting us relive that through your memories. Thank you so much. I will now request Dr. Deepa Agarwal, who's an author, a poet, and a translator. Deepa writes for both children and adults and has over 60 books published. Deepa ji, welcome, and I request you to read one poem of yours from the book.
Thank you so much, Anita, for the lovely introduction. And many thanks to the three wonderful editors, Professor Malashri Lal, Sanjukta Das Gupta, and Anita Nahal, for putting together this amazing volume celebrating the creativity of women in their silver years. This is the time when people expect us to fade into the twilight, but we are still bubbling with ideas. And heartfelt thanks to Sahitya Academy for bringing out this book and this beautifully produced book with this lovely cover. Okay, the poem I'm going to read is titled The Drums of Toil. Now, this poem is inspired by a custom in my home state of Uttarakhand. This is the time when paddy is being sown. The toil of the workers is lightened by, a musical performance. And this custom is called Hurkia Bowl. And, I always feel it's a celebration of the toil of women, because in my home state, women take part, in the major part of agriculture. Apart from plowing the field, men really don't do much at all. And this images I've seen of this Hurkia bowl are so beautiful. The women just standing there, and the Hurkia the drummer, because the Hurka is a small drum, like a drumru. So here it is, The Drums of Toil. And I also feel, it always makes me think of women's role as Annapurna, the provider of food for the whole family. Okay. The eager field waits, drenched with anticipation, waits for the shawl of green to cloak its barrenness. Eager sprigs of paddy wait to connect with the earth, seeking fulfillment, the miracle of plenty. Eager women wait, hope pulsing in their veins, sparkling in their eyes as they await the drumbeat. It comes, reverberation of promise, as the Hurkia croons a spell, evoking a litany of gods, and across the field, affirmation trills. Deft hands spring into movement, supple feet execute a well-loved dance, greening the brown while ancient stories perfume the air. Tales of love and war, of magic and fantasy. How cherished this music, holding hands with toil. What place for drudgery if song absorbs the essential grind? Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Toiling, women toil all the time in the house and outside in public and private spaces. And you have very eloquently captured that. Thank you so much for your poem. I will now request Jayashree Mishra Tripathi. She is the eldest of 5 daughters. She has lived a nomadic lifestyle, she says, from the 1980s until 2015 as an Indian Foreign Service spouse, and remained a freelance journalist, poet, and chronicler from across 3 continents. Jayashree, welcome, and I request you to read your poem.
Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be amongst such august presence. I haven't written much, but I hope my words resonate with you. The poem I've chosen is called Journeys and Detours, because I first went overseas when I was 5, and all that sort of living, coming home and going back and forth till it ended finally in 2015. So this is a poem called Journeys and Detours. In my late 60s, I will retrace the steps of 7 generations of ancestors, pray at the same shrines in the land of temples and hills, invoke blessings for family and friends, allay my fears with half-hearted smiles, happiness now realigned. Rainbow images of childhood, grandparents and warm embraces, sweet delicacies to relish, aromatic fragrances, flickering diyas at eventide from the puja room, happiness undefined. Charcoal sketches of adulthood, mixed emotions, ferrying children and baggage from parents to in-laws, from back across oceans to alien lands, tired, perplexed, happiness redefined. The sea entices the weary to its mystic charm. I hear the music of the waves roar during monsoon showers, or gently caress the sand in sunny skies at Puri. Peer at the distant horizon, invoke untouched recesses of my soul, happiness yet uncharted. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayashree, and how befitting for you to conclude with your poem, because your poem kind of brings everyone together. You know, poets talked about family, their parents. Beenaji talked about protest and youth. So everything I think has been covered, and I'm deeply appreciative of everyone in this session today. I hand the session back to the Deputy Secretary to invite Sayukta to provide concluding
may
remarks.
I interrupt here? Chanchal Sareen probably has joined. You need to call
Who has
her.
joined? Chanchal Sareen?
Chanchal Sareen, the poet Chanchal Sareen.
Yeah, I don't see her.
Join? No.
I don't see her.
Is
Yeah.
Chanchal Sareen there?
No, madam. No.
Okay.
Maybe she was trying to join and unable to. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, madam. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you and all. And now I thought richness of this gathering could easily stretch across hours time, gently reminds us to draw evening to a close. I now invite Professor Sanjukta Dasutta to offer her concluding remarks and bring this memorable celebration to its graceful end, madam. Madam, Sanjukta, madam, please you.
Thank you, Dr. Shambhukananda, and thank you, Sahitya Academy, for the creation and production of this book. And this is a book, as you all have seen, and most of you have a copy of this, this is a book which definitely can be judged by its cover. And so this is a unique bringing together of 50 voices of senior contemporary women poets. Now, this gendered identity, which Professor Malashri Lal rightly pointed out, is one which the editors of this particular book thought that it was necessary not to just locate women poets who are past the age of 60 to have been there and done that. And so now they are unable to think anymore, and they are now in a world of nostalgia. So we have really the 50 poets here and the brilliant, my team members of this editorial venture have been able to turn geriatrics on its head. We have knocked over geriatrics, and we have also celebrated gender. And in doing so, what we noticed, and all of you, if you have read the introduction of, which was painstakingly put together by the three of us, that the poets here are ones who are in various professions. They might be part-time, they might be a full-time professionals, but all of them are engaged in more than the well-defined stereotypical roles of a woman. And also significantly, I noticed that women, even the poems that we just read here, is more celebratory about motherhood. There seems to be a stunning silence about wifehood, if you notice that. Yes? So I'm not too sure why there is so much of silence about wives and why there is so much of celebration of motherhood. Maybe we'll have to put together another book which will celebrate wifehood. Yes? So significantly, I think what we need to notice that the poet contributors who are teaching or who have taught in the English departments of various institutions here are in the majority, followed by faculty members of social science departments. The presence of poets belonging to STEM, that is to the science departments, is truly remarkable. So significantly, the second group, you will find this reference in the introduction. Represented in this collection of 50 poets are accredited journalists, editors, freelance writers, curators, art designers, broadcasters, novelists, playwrights, and social workers. And therefore, it was such a joy to have seen how women have evolved through the centuries. And on the 25th year of the new millennium, that is 2025, we are celebrating women as independent identities, as well as their various role-playing responsibilities. Role-playing has not crushed the identity of any woman. What in terms of going back in times and in terms of reference to myths, as Professor Malashri Lal said, this role-playing in the 21st century, however, has led to the emergence of women poets with confidence, a sort of vibrancy, a sort of dynamism, a sort of independent will, which are all expressed in various ways in the poem according to the varying personalities of the 50 poets in Silver Years. And so, 3 cheers to Silver Years. And I would like to conclude here thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I hope there will be many more sessions so that you can hear the voices of all our 50 poets. Thank you so much.
Thank
Can I
you.
make a suggestion since we are all carrying the book? Can we hold it up?
Yes, that will be very good.
I don't have a copy. I don't know why
Okay,
I don't have a copy.
Well,
Veena,
those who have a
let us
copy.
imagine you are sharing our copy. What are we poets for if we can't imagine?
Yes, indeed. Let me show you a lovely book art while we talk.
Okay.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
Ah, very
Very
good.
nice.
Very good.
thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank-
ma'am.
It's wonderful to meet all of you here, and the power and magic of technology brings us together digitally like this. And I hope we personally meet one day. Let's
Yes. Thank you once again. Normally, Sahitya Academy celebrates and do program for young writers, young poets, young people like that. This is the first time we are doing in Sahitya Academy Silver Years program. Just nice to have you people with talking and experience poems and all. Now, on behalf of Sahitya Academy, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for joining us. Your presence has added significance to this celebration of poetic excellence. Thank you once again, madam.
Thank you. Thank you,
Excuse me.
Sahitya Academy, Mala Di, Sanjukta Di. Thank you so much.
Thank
Excuse me,
you.
can
Thank you,
Anita.
everyone. And Sanmukhananda ji, thank you so much for all the work that you've put in.
Namaste.
Shambhuka Nandaji, I must also thank
Thank-
Parameshwaran,
Yeah.
who has worked round the clock.
Yeah, yes,
And I think we made him redo the cover at least 20 times.
yeah,
Yes?
very much here
Yes,
only.
Parameshwaran, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the
Yes,
amazing cover.
and at
Thank
least
you.
make 5 or 10 drafts, and also the cover 20 drafts or something. And he has been admirably patient, which
Yeah,
I
really.
don't think I would have been able
Thank you,
to.
Parameshwaran.
Really,
Thank you so
is a
much.
beautiful cover, madam. It depicts everything in this picture itself. I think.
Thank you.
Even
Thank
in your
Thank
group,
you,
I
Parameshwaran.
am also become the silver hair person. Thank you. Thank you. Nice.
Thank you,
nice of
everybody.
you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
and namaste, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go.
ಇದೊಂದು